Have you ever noticed that some people like a lot of information and give a lot of information and need a lot of information, and other people don't like a lot of information? They don't give a lot of information? Now, does it mean one's right and one's wrong? No, it means we're different. But you have to be aware of individual differences. So if you're listening to someone who does not like a lot of information, your listening skills should be adjusted to that. If you're dealing with someone who likes a lot of information and gives a lot of information, you've got to adjust yourself to that. We also have the difference between insiders and outsiders. Now let me explain what I mean by insiders and outsiders. Insiders are those people that do their processing inside their brain. They have to take a new piece of information and connect it to an old piece of information before they can move along. And they're making these connections all the time. The outsiders do their processing outside their brain. They gather all of this stuff out there, and then they take in and connect what they really need. I'm willing to bet that all of you go to meetings, what? Once a quarter, once a month, once an hour. It's always the same people, right? And you know going into that meeting who's going to do all the talking and who's going to sit there nice and quiet. They never move, never open their mouths. They sit there very quietly and never say anything. You would swear they're semi-comatose. They're not semi-comatose. They're insiders. They're sucking in that information. They're processing all of that information. When those insiders speak, you better listen, because they've processed all that information. We have the differences between the unders and the overs. Now I can tell all of you are way ahead of me on this one, or maybe way above me. Let me give you a hint what I'm talking about when I say unders and overs. Toilet paper. See, people start fist fights over whether the toilet paper comes over the roll or under the roll. This is every time I do this, people get, it's got to be over, you got to be under. They get into big discussions about this. I did a program for the Federal Reserve Bank in Cincinnati. And I went in the night before to start the program the next morning. And the Hyatt Regency in Cincinnati has this thing solved. They've got 2 toilet paper dispensers. One over, one under. That's customer service. That's customer service. Well, see, in my house, I solved this problem. It's not over. It's not under. It goes like this. Like this, not like this. Yeah. All right. One other difference that you have to recognize, and this one is critical, is the difference between lookers, talkers, and touchers. Those are 3 kinds of people we have in this world: lookers, talkers, and touchers. Now, to explain the difference between lookers, talkers, and touchers, I have to put you on a school bus when we're going down to the museum. Going down to the museum or an art gallery, and here's this magnificent work of art. Maybe it might be a painting, a portrait, a sculpture, some kind of beautiful work of art. The lookers will walk up to this thing. Never move. Never say a word. They're sucking in every color, every pixel, every shade, every hue. They just keep looking at the thing. You can leave, come back an hour later. They're still looking at this thing. With the talkers, you can always count it down. It's always 3 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003. You can't shut them up. They have to talk. Now, it may be about that work of art. It may be about where they're going to lunch. It may be about what Susie wore to work yesterday, but they have to talk. These are the people constantly walking around the house or the office. Okay, now where did I put my keys? I know I had my keys here 15 minutes ago. Right? The windshield of their car knows more about their business and personal life. They're always talking to the windshield, right? See? These are the talkers. Now the touchers. What is this big sign above this work of art? What is that? What does it say? Do not touch, right? Now what are the touchers doing? Now the first thing they're doing, so they have to go over the velvet rope, and then you have two kinds of touchers. You've got the one-handed toucher and the two-handed toucher. They have to touch it. Now this stuff is absolute magic, folks. Absolute magic. My wife is a complete looker. Total looker. She likes to learn by seeing, by reading. I am a combination of a talker and a toucher. I've never won any fights with my wife. Because anytime I want to communicate with my wife, I'd say, Mary Lou, listen, we have to talk about this. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear all the talker words? Mary Lou, listen. We have to talk about this. Do you hear what I'm saying? Nothing. Now that I know she's a complete looker, anytime I want to communicate with my wife, I say, Mary Lou, picture this. Here's how I view it. I still haven't won any fights. But at least I can communicate with her. This stuff is magic. I have 3 kids. One of each. I've got a looker, a talker, and a toucher. And we have to communicate with them differently. It's absolutely amazing. So you've got to learn. People will give you signals when they talk to you. They will give you signals when they write to you, whether they're lookers, talkers, and touchers. And say, have you ever heard that phrase, get on the same wavelength? That's what we're talking about. If they're using visual words, you use visual words. If they're using auditory words, use auditory words. It's magic, folks, absolute magic.